Hi again. I'm Dr. Kathleen Young, board certified child, adolescent, and adult psychiatrist. And I'm here to do more videos on less obvious presentations of autism spectrum disorder. And so I wanted to start by talking about what is autism spectrum disorder. And, I think there's a lot of ways people understand it. I think it's not always well understood, but I think it's good to think of it in its parts. And I read a book called Is This Autism I'm looking at it by Donna Henderson. So if you want to go out and get that book, it's a great book. And I like the way she divides it up. And so in autism, we look for challenges or differences. I think it's really differences because neurodivergence is really a different way that your brain processes information and experiences in life. And so we look for differences in the way people on the spectrum sort of live in the world. And so we look for differences in communication and social communication, namely social emotional reciprocity, nonverbal communication. So, like our nonverbal cues, that might be our facial expressions, our body language, the ways we're always interpreting the people around us and how they are receiving our information. And we are in turn giving them nonverbal information all the time, ability to maintain relationships. And then we look for repetitive behaviors or restricted interests. And I'm not going to get into that so much in this video. What I wanted to talk about today was social emotional reciprocity in social communication. And so when I think about reciprocity, it's really that ability to initiate and maintain an interaction with someone else. So it's all the stuff that goes into a back and forth conversation, right? Or a back and forth interaction. And that includes greeting people, so saying hello. Some people have a harder time with that and they may be just seen as shy, but it's really like greeting people, knowing to greet people, understanding naturally that you're supposed to say hello or goodbye when you're in an interaction with somebody. You know, being able to know what to say, how to start a conversation, asking follow-up questions when somebody and giving follow-up information when somebody says, how are you doing? A friend, they really usually mean to understand more than just fine, or like, how was the movie, more than good, to get a little bit more information. So picking up on the idea that that's part of reciprocity and having a conversation is giving more information than just yes or no or answering the question. And these are the things that go into it. I had someone one time tell me that she was worried that she would run out of things to say to people. And I think it didn't hit me at the time, but initially, but when I was thinking about it that more, I think that's an issue of reciprocity. Worrying that you won't be able to maintain a conversation with somebody is about your ability to have that reciprocal um, information. So with people on the spectrum, there, this reciprocity is often absent or lacking in some way. People on the spectrum notoriously have trouble with small talk and getting to know people. They may not be sure what to say in conversations with people, or they may be overly direct or inappropriate, what we would call inappropriate to the context, when they first get to know someone, asking them a really personal question or diving right in, that may feel uncomfortable to a neurotypical person. Um, they may not be sure what to say in conversation with people, or they may talk excessively about themselves or something that they're really interested and don't always notice. They talk at you. I'm sure maybe you haven't, but a lot of people listening to this will have had a conversation where somebody talks at them, and the other person doesn't always notice when someone else has stopped listening or doesn't seem interested. And I think people on the spectrum actually do kind of notice that, but they're not really sure what to do. I don't know that they're completely clueless about it sometimes, but I think it's hard for them to talk about things that they're not interested in. And that's sort of this curiosity about people and being able, we often listen to what other people are interested in. We may not be interested in it ourselves, but we're willing to listen to what people have to say. And I think that can be harder for people on the spectrum to demonstrate the same level of curiosity. And it can come across as being unusually, um, shy or quiet or disinterested in other people. Or it can look as sort of a lack of empathy or being self-absorbed, or narcissistic. But I think when you really probe into like what's going on for that person in that situation and peel back the layers, you can see that it really really reflects an underlying difficulty with reciprocity. So it's not that people on the spectrum aren't interested in the person. They just have a harder time being interested in something that they're not inherently interested in, or understanding why, asking follow-up questions to learn more about what this other person's talking about, or understanding why they're interested in it. I often hear from parents that their kid like my kid never asked me how I'm doing or how I'm feeling. And I think this gets written off as being a selfish adolescent or uncaring. But I think when you look at the kid, you can see that it's actually a difficulty with reciprocity. Um, or I've had parents say that their kid never gives any information or any details. And that could be mistaken as normal teenage behavior. And I think in some cases it is. But when you put it together with some of the other features of autism, you can see that it reflects something bigger. And these kids who have trouble with reciprocity often also have trouble writing papers and giving details, creating arguments for their thesis, right? Or recounting stories when they're talking to you without adequate information or without the right context. These are the conversations you're having with people that leave you wonder if you just missed something, or like, what are they even talking about? So this isn't an exhaustive list of all the examples of difficulty with reciprocity, but I wanted to give you guys an understanding of some of the areas that are difficult when it comes to communication and reciprocity that may warrant, if your kid or you have difficulty in these areas, it may warrant further investigation. I'm also going to do at some point a video on communication and dig deeper into that, because I think that's where, when I talk to people on the spectrum, it's a real aha moment for them when I dig into some of the communication deficits, or difficulties, I should say. I don't like to call them deficit. So let's call them differences, communication differences. That's all I got. Hopefully that's helpful and good to talk to you.